Chapter 1. Awake. Journal extracts, January to February of Year 1. I'm always the first awake. Daisy greets my descent downstairs with a nuzzle of her face around the edge of her bed and an offering of her belly for gentle rubbing as I enter the kitchen. She sighs deeply as I cross to the kettle, a half-milk coffee with a spoonful of dark brown sugar being the way to indulge and delight my taste buds after my fingertips. As the mug of milk turns in the whirring microwave and the kettle's rumbling escalates, I step out into the fresh stillness of the garden. "Morning, girls," I murmur. "Ready for breakfast?" Befuddled and curious awes tentatively rise from the hen house as I lower the ramp and open the door. The hens step and stagger out, shake and ruffle their plumage, then dash after my retreating legs as we all head for the food store. Grain and pellets are greeted with a chorus of cooing, the urgency to begin pecking distracting them from the hand that sweeps down one or two feathery backs. Back in the kitchen, I savour the warmth and sweetness of the coffee and ponder the day. I am here waiting for this different day to unfold because of 4 pictures. Yes, there have been 4 pictures now. Pictures which are similar, yet with significant differences, that together urge me to move forward by looking back. But what's the point? Anyway, 4 pictures. In the first picture, I'm standing on a ladder, half within the attic space, looking in. It's gloomy in there, with no natural light, very dusty and a little bleak. The wall along the left side is all uneven brickwork and rough mortar. The slope of the roof extends quite steeply down to my right. The lines of the rafters stretch away in front of me, converging towards the box lying centrally, towards the rear of this place. The attic is otherwise empty. The box is all that is here. It dominates the space, quietly commanding my attention. So, to describe the box. It's a wooden box, a small chest, very solidly built with a domed lid. The reinforcing straps, corner pieces and front lock are of dark metal. There is a heavy padlock fixed through the clasp. The contents are secure within. I know immediately what it represents, that the box holds pieces of my past, appropriately contained. My past has not been entirely secret, but the detail has never been for public display. In the second picture, I stand on the loft ladder. I am twisting round, looking back over my right shoulder, seeing the box now wedged into the eaves and butted against the back wall. The lock remains fast. Why has it moved? A curious shift, but I do not feel particularly concerned about it. Then the third picture. Standing on the ladder, I still have to twist to see the box in the back corner of the attic. But now there's an unsettling change. The lock is undone. The clasp hangs open. It is not completely secure anymore, and neither am I. But I do not need to worry too much, I tell myself. After all, the lid is heavy and sits firmly shut, and only I am here to look on it. I will leave it alone. This time, though, I find the undercurrent of uncertainty and unsettledness does not leave me. It rises and continually ripples the edges of my ease. What does it all mean? Yes, I know there are events from my past that I have put away. They are behind me now. I've found a good and safe place to be. It's the movement of the box that I puzzle over. It seems that God is showing me that perhaps it shouldn't stay in place. Yet, while it's shown to be movable, I feel there is a degree of restraint being demonstrated too. God has the power to challenge and change its position, though still invites me to engage with what is happening and consent to what is to come. And yet, what is to come? In the fourth and last picture, I see the box back in its original position, straight in front of me as I lift my head through the hatch in the attic. My stomach lurches as I see the padlock still disjointed, hanging with its neck broken. It is disturbing to view it, even though I note that the lock has not actually been removed, as though that is something left for me to choose to do. There is no mistaking the challenge being pressed upon me, though. What are you going to do about the box? So, what am I going to do about the box? These pictures are making me uncomfortable, deep in my spirit. I know something of what they relate to, but feel confused by what I'm supposed to do about them. I'm nervous of explaining my situation. I have asked John, my church minister, if I can talk to him. He's a dynamic, if somewhat disorganised person, and a gifted preacher. I hope he will be relaxed and receptive when I see him. What will he think of my pictures? How will he relate to this unusual way in which I'm hearing from God? But I can't easily hold this to myself any longer. I need wise counsel. So here I am, in trusting apprehension. The pictures have come to me over the course of this last year. Yes, I've always understood what they represented. It's really not hard to work that out. The pictures are all set in the same place, in the same attic. I know which house holds this attic, even though I cannot see the other rooms from the vantage point I have to the pictures. And in fact, I do not recall ever looking into the attic in that house. Nevertheless, I recognise it just the same. So, the appointed time arrives, this February 2011 day, and this is how it is. I'm a relative newcomer to this church, known enough to John, but not too much. I am the puppeteer, and also the lady who signs when we sing. But that tells him nothing about who I used to be. So now I skate through the basic background that John needs to know. As a young child, I lived abroad with my parents and sisters, as my father worked in the Foreign Office. After a tempestuous few years, my parents divorced when I was about 8. Dad remained living abroad, and although I had sporadic contact with him, I didn't meet up with him again until I was in my mid-20s. Back in England with my mother, a quick remarriage brought a new man into our home. A heavy drinker and bully, he had a known history of inappropriate behaviour with young girls. I became a particular focus of his attentions over several years, in ways which instilled fear and shame in me. I know that the box in the pictures holds that past. John listens to my description of the pictures and asks whether I have ever unpacked this box before. Yes, I have done so. Once, I explain uncomfortably. A few years ago. Surely there's no need to do so again. You see, I showed its contents to the police, who carefully and gently picked through it and prepared to lay it open in court, to prevent other boxes needing to be packed away in other attics. But then the one who had made the pieces grubby and torn, the pieces that needed to be contained, was discovered to be no more. The potential for him causing further shameful baggage was at an end. Justice would be dealt, perfectly and eternally. The box was repacked, the lid shut, the door closed. It could be let be. So there's no need to open this box again. Is there? But have you ever unpacked this box before Jesus? John asks. I am rocked by his question, shaken by what he is suggesting should be done about the pictures. It makes a kind of sense, but I'm dismayed. But what would be the point, I ask? What is the good purpose in it? Your healing and wholeness, he says. Isn't that enough? No, I think. Well, yes, of course. I mean, I can't dismiss or reject God's desire for me to be healed and whole. But I've been fine lately. I'm happy, secure, pretty sorted, really. Why pick a scab? It's not causing me a problem. I can't think of any reason I should need it all re-exposed. No purpose to it. No good purpose at all. I need to take time to think and pray. It's a busy month for us, February. 3 birthdays in less than a fortnight, and half-term bisecting the calendar of events. This half-term week is particularly hectic, mostly with the chauffeuring and hosting duties that fall to parents of teenagers. On 2 days, I make 3 one-hour round trips to the hospital for a friend having chemo, whose belligerent optimism is frequently expressed by her phrase, "I'm fine." Plus, there are 2 trips for my son George to visit friends who live over 10 miles away, and then there's a girlfriend dropping in to see him at home. Meanwhile, my daughter Ellie has a friend staying for a couple of nights before they go off to a concert in Birmingham, and another friend here for a sleepover. They go to London on a theatre and sightseeing trip, our birthday present to her, and I pick them up from the station again that evening, then take them to a party in town. The week's diary means that my husband Michael and I somewhat lack a social life. My big triumph of the week is to get all the ironing done. A rare event indeed. But as a backdrop to all this busyness, I am considering the pictures and John's disturbing challenge.